Hi guys, so how can we solve this exponential equation? Now it's actually very simple because when you look at this equation, you notice that 12 and 16 can be expressed in terms of base of 3 and 4. So what we're going to do basically is just that we'll try to make sure everything look as similar as possible. So 12 and 16, let's try to express it in terms of 3 and 4. So here we can rewrite this as 3 to the power of x minus 4 to the power of x equals, now don't forget 12 to the power of x, we can rewrite it as 4 to the power of x times 3 to the power of x, right? Law of indices, don't forget, we have 12 to the power of x, right? That's 4 times 3 to the power of x. So we can share the power for them. That's 4 to the power of x times 3 to the power of x. Yes, law of indices. So we do the same thing here also. 4 to the power of x times 4 to the power of x, which gives us 16. Now we are getting very close. So here now you see that we have similar bases. We have base of 3 and base of 4 all through. So the best thing or the smartest thing to do here is to substitute to make it look easier, right? So let's just say let's 3 to the power of x equals m, then 4 to the power of x equals n. Yes, to make this equation look appealing. So here we have m minus n minus square root of n times m minus n times n. Don't forget we can factorize here because we have n and n common. So let's factorize. Here we have square root of n is common. So we have n into bracket m minus n. Yes, very, very good. Now the next thing to do here is to square both sides, okay, to eliminate these roots. So here now we have m minus n all squared equals to m minus n. Yes. So here now, you notice that we have m minus n, right? So what do you think we can do here? So what we can do here is that there's something you should not do. First of all, there's something you should not do. Don't be tempted to divide both sides by m minus n so as to reduce this m minus n. Right? If you do that, you won't be wrong, but you'll be missing another solution because this square tells us that we're going to have two different solutions. But when you divide both sides by this, you're going to eliminate that square. You have just one solution. So let's try to avoid that. So rather, what we're going to do is we're going to bring this here so as to have a kind of a quadratic equation. So here we have m minus n all squared minus m minus n equals to 0. Yes, we can have a quadratic equation here. So now let's not factor m minus n because m minus n is common. So here we have m minus n, that's a rectangular bracket. So then here we have m minus n, then this cancels this minus n equals to 0. Now don't forget the bracket here. Don't forget the bracket. So the next thing to do now is negative n minus n give us minus 2n. So here we have m minus n, then m minus 2n equals to what? 0. Now don't forget from our idea of quadratic equation that is m minus n must be equals to 0 or m minus 2n must be equals to what? 0. Yes, now we have simplified it. So the next thing to do is now to substitute this back. So now we have 3 to the power of x minus 4 to the power of x equals 0 or 3 to the power of x minus 2 times 4 to the power of x equals 0. So let's now solve these two independently. Let's continue here. So here we now have 3 to the power of x equals 4 to the power of x, right? Or 3 to the power of x equals 2 times 4 to the power of x. So we'll now solve this normally, right? So by looking at this, 3 to the power of x equals 4 to the power of x, it means x here must be equals to 0. Why? But because the power is the same, but the base are different. The only way this can be possible is when x equals 0, because 3 to the power of 0 is 1, 4 to the power of 0 is also 1. So here now is sorted, that's x to the power of 0. But here now, let us solve this normally. So let's divide both sides by 4 to the power of x. Or we have 3 to the power of x divided by 4 to the power of x equals 2. So let's continue now. Here now they have the same power, law of law of indices. We can bring them together. So we can have 3 over 4 all to the power of x equals what? 2. So to solve for x here, normal idea of logarithm, we take log of both sides. So then we're going to have x log 3 over 4